All right, let's jump right in. Today we're digging into some ancient wisdom, Proverbs chapter 14 to be exact, and we're going to see if we can pull out a practical guide, a blueprint for building a strong and meaningful life right now in the modern world.
I mean, really think about it for a second. What if you had an actual architectural plan that showed you exactly what leads to a solid structure and what leads to total collapse? That's exactly how we're going to look at this chapter, not as some dusty old list of rules, but as a real, practical design for living well.
Okay, so where does it all start? The chapter kicks off with this really powerful metaphor. Every single one of us is a builder, and every choice we make every single day is either constructing our life or it's tearing it down. It really boils down to two types of builders. And boom, here it is, the very first verse. This sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. It's this core conflict between wisdom, which is all about intentional, careful construction, and folly, which is about, tearing it all down with your own two hands. Every decision counts.
So, if we're building a life, where do you even start? Well, this blueprint suggests the foundation isn't something external. It's the internal stuff, the architecture of our character, our attitudes, and what we truly believe. This sets up the starting point in such a fascinating way. It says your entire path in life, whether you walk a straight line or a crooked one, is determined by your internal posture, your fundamental attitude toward a moral authority that's bigger than yourself.
Now, the text uses this phrase, the fear of the Lord, all the time, and it's so important we get this right. It doesn't mean being scared, not at all. It means having this deep respect, this reverence that acts like a secure fortress and a source of life, steering you away from trouble. And I love this part. It shows how our inner world has real physical consequences. A calm, peaceful heart, it's literally life-giving to your body. But then you have envy, which it describes as something that rots the bones. Wow, what a powerful warning against that trap of comparison.
And at the end of the day, this whole inner construction project, it's a personal one. The blueprint gets that. It acknowledges that our deepest pains and our greatest joys are ours alone. So managing that internal world, that's our number one job.
Okay, so you've got this inner character, right? But how does that actually show up in the real world? The blueprint is pretty clear. It's expressed outwardly through two main things, what we say and what we do.
Think of your words like tools. For the wise, they're like a shield, offering protection. But for the fool, their own proud words become a weapon that lashes out and, ironically, ends up hurting themselves the most. The bottom line here is that what we say has real power. It can literally save a life or it can spread destruction. Our words can reveal deep understanding when we're patient, or they can expose our own foolishness when we have a quick temper. What we say is a direct printout of who we are inside.
And it's not just about talk, is it? The blueprint is just as tough when it comes to action. It draws this super clear line between actually doing the work, which brings a profit, and just talking about it, which leads to, well, nothing but poverty.
The text uses this brilliant farming metaphor for this. It talks about not having oxen, which basically means if you don't put in any real investment, no resources, no time, no effort, then what happens? The manger stays empty. Simple as that. No harvest. It's a timeless principle, isn't it? No investment, no return. You can't just talk your way into a successful harvest. You got to put in the work. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit, because this isn't just about building our own little lives in a bubble. The blueprint shows how all our individual choices, our character, our words, our actions, they create these ripples that end up shaping our entire community. And just look at how clearly this is laid out. How we treat the most vulnerable people around us isn't just some social nicety. It's framed as a direct reflection of our relationship with God. Oppressing someone is showing contempt for the one who made them, while kindness is an act of honor that brings a blessing back to you. The text is also brutally honest about social dynamics. It just straight up says that poverty often leaves you isolated, while having money seems to attract a lot of, well, friends. It's a pretty sobering reminder not to judge someone's worth by their popularity or their bank account.
And here's where it all leads on a grand scale. The collective character of a people, that's what defines a nation. Widespread moral integrity or righteousness lifts up the whole society. But widespread wrongdoing, sin, leads to its downfall.
So, we've seen the two builders, the two inner foundations, and the two ways they affect society, which leads to the big final question. Where do these two paths actually end up?
The blueprint doesn't mess around here. It doesn't leave us hanging. It brings the whole thing to a really stark conclusion by showing us exactly what the final outcome is for a life built on wisdom versus a life built on folly. And here we are, full circle, right back to that house metaphor. But check out the detail here. Even a humble tent built on a solid, upright foundation is going to flourish. Meanwhile, that big, fancy house of the wicked, built on a corrupt foundation, it's destined for destruction. And this might be the most chilling verse in the whole chapter. It's a huge warning about fooling ourselves. A path can look right, it can feel right, everyone might even be telling you it's the right way to go. But if it's not built on real wisdom, the blueprint says its final destination is just ruin. So, there it is. The blueprint is laid out. Your choices, your words, and your actions, those are your building materials. The consequences are clear. So the only question left, the one this ancient wisdom is really asking you and me today, is this: which house are you building?